In a small, dusty village where the roads were cracked and the houses leaned like tired old men, there lived a boy named Ravi who had nothing except a pair of worn-out slippers and pockets that remained stubbornly empty no matter how tightly he pressed his hands inside. Every morning, he would wake up before the sun had even thought of rising, step out of his tiny mud house, and stare at the horizon with a quiet question in his eyes: "Is this all my life will ever be?" And though nobody heard it, he whispered to himself, "I want more, even if I don't know how I'll get it." Ravi's father was a daily wage laborer, strong but always exhausted, and his mother stitched clothes for neighboring families. They earned just enough to keep the stove burning and the roof from falling. But Ravi, although young, understood very well what poverty felt like. It was the rumbling in his stomach, the holes in his shirt, the looks people gave him, the way shopkeepers hesitated before letting him step too close to anything valuable, yet the boy had something no one else could see, something pocketless poverty could never touch. Ravi had a mind that refused to shrink to the size of his circumstances. Every afternoon, after finishing his chores, he would sit under a large banyan tree at the edge of the village. It was here that he dreamed. And it was here that he met the man who would change his life. One day, an old traveler paused near the tree, resting his heavy bag on the ground. Ravi, curious as always, walked closer and greeted him. The old man smiled, noticing the spark in the boy's eyes, and asked him a simple question: "What do you want to become when you grow up?" Most children would say farmer, tailor, driver, practical things, small things. But Ravi took a deep breath and said, "I want to become someone important. Someone who can change things. Someone who can make life better for my parents, my village, and maybe the whole world." The old man studied him silently, then said something Ravi never forgot for the rest of his life: "If you think small, your life will stay small. But if you think big, your life will grow to match your mind." Ravi didn't fully understand what that meant, but the words settled inside him like a seed waiting for the rain. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Life continued to test Ravi in every possible way. His school was miles away, and he had to walk barefoot after his slippers finally tore. When he came home, he helped his mother with stitching or collected firewood. People told him that boys like him weren't meant to dream big, that the world wasn't kind to those without money or connections. But every time doubt crept in, he remembered the old traveler's words. One day, something changed. While returning from school, Ravi noticed a small poster near the village gate. It announced a scholarship exam in the nearby town. The reward was huge: free education at a good school. But the exam was just a week away, and Ravi didn't even have the books to prepare. Most children would have walked away. But Ravi looked at that poster and felt something inside him rise. He thought big, not about the obstacles, but about the opportunity. He borrowed old textbooks from a teacher, studied under streetlights when the electricity in his house flickered out, and refused to sleep until he had gone through every page at least twice. The night before the exam, his mother placed her hand on his head and said, "We have nothing to give you, Ravi. Not new clothes, not money for travel, not even proper food. All we can give you is our hope." And with that, Ravi walked into the exam hall the next morning, wearing the same faded shirt, but carrying the largest dream in the room. Weeks later, as he helped his father carry bricks at a construction site, a man on a motorcycle arrived looking for him. Ravi's heart pounded as he was handed a letter. He tore it open with trembling fingers. He read the first line, then the second, then the third. And then his knees almost gave way. He had topped the scholarship exam. The entire village celebrated his success. But for Ravi, this win was not the end, it was the beginning. He moved to the town, studied harder than ever, and found himself surrounded by students from wealthy families. At first, he was intimidated. They had laptops, private tutors, and expensive stationery. But Ravi had something they didn't: hunger, the kind that comes from having known what it feels like to have nothing. Every night, while others slept peacefully in their comfortable rooms, Ravi studied late into the night. He cleaned classrooms for extra money, worked part-time at a shop, and still managed to stay at the top of his class. Whenever life cornered him, he reminded himself, think big. Don't shrink your dream to fit your situation. Expand your effort to fit your dream. Years passed. Ravi earned a place at a top university. He won scholarships, graduated with honors, and eventually became a successful entrepreneur. But beyond that, he became something more, someone who remembered where he came from. The boy who once sat under a banyan tree now returned to his village, not with empty pockets this time, but with a heart full of purpose and hands capable of giving. He built a school, improved the roads, helped families start small businesses, and made sure no child ever had to drop out because of poverty. People who once doubted him now spoke his name with pride. And somewhere in the wind, as he stood under the shade of that old banyan tree, he felt the echo of a familiar voice: if you think small, your life will stay small. But if you think big, your life will grow to match your mind. And that is the true power of thinking big. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how empty your pockets are. What matters is how rich your mind is, how bold your ideas are, how unshakable your belief is in the possibility of something greater. Poverty might limit your resources, but it can never limit your imagination unless you allow it to. Ravi's story is not just a story, it's a reminder that greatness doesn't require wealth. Vision does. Success doesn't require a perfect path. Courage does. And your future is not determined by what you have today, but by what you think you deserve tomorrow. So if you're watching this, feeling stuck, feeling small, feeling like life has given you less than others, remember Ravi. Remember what he proved. You cannot control where you were born, but you can control where your mind chooses to go. Think bigger than your fears. Dream larger than your circumstances. Believe in possibilities bigger than your doubts, because one day, the world will match the size of your thoughts. And the story of your life will be written not by the limits you had, but by the dreams you dared to chase.